Are we back? And we're back on the build phase. And today we are, for the first time in what feels like an eternity, going to talk about new versus cards. Let's go. This is an expansion I've been excited for. Scarlet Witch is one of my favorite characters within the MCU. I think they've done some really cool things with Wanda, and the Wandavision TV show is, I think, one of the better TV shows that they've done, with the exception of those first two episodes. But let's dive right into these cards. So, welcome to the Westview Anomaly. Today, you're going to be meeting the team that's come together to investigate the Hex, a mysterious and reality affecting phenomenon. Let's introduce the only person who's successfully transversed it. This is Monica Rambo. So she is a level 1 main character. 255. Ah, the slideshow gets me every time. I think I saw 255 before the website took the card away from me. 255 with range. Okay, so at least it's not a 245. That come on, man. I thought I paused it. Okay, so 255. That's a little bit better than like the famous stat block of death, but not the strongest stat. So what does she do? Brave the unknown. Main phase. Move Monica. Pay a green. Move Monica to your front or back row. There's going to need to be something else going on with this. That by itself is not very good. 3 times through the hex, level up 3. When Monica moves. Okay, here we go. When Monica moves to a different road during your main phase, she gains 1 XP. Then put +1/+1 counter on her for each XP that she has. So I don't like the fact that this only works during my turn. I think it would be a lot cooler if my opponent wants to whiplash my Monica, or they want to push her out of the way, or like whatever they want to do. If my opponent wants to move my character, if she got experience from that as well, I think that would be a little bit cooler. That's not the way they went. So you're gonna. How many ways are there to move characters during the main phase in photographic? I'm thinking like the Know You Move plot twist, which would be on team for her, but I think that has to target an enemy character. Uh, I mean, I already mentioned Whiplash, but again, you can't whiplash your own character. So are we relying on just her power? Oh, Sweet. Sweet on turn 5 will move all characters to the front row and make them do a little dance number. So, like, that's something, but, like, do you want to wait till turn 5 to level up? I don't think so. So, at least going from memory, and I haven't been playing in the photographic pool anytime recently, so maybe I'm missing something really obvious. Feel free to let me know in the in the comments. But I suspect that you're going to be relying pretty heavily on her actual superpower in order to get her experience. So, what does she level up into? A supporting character. All right. I'll, I'll come back to the supporting character. I want to do the main character first. I like the art change. I like the art change a lot. Switching between main character level 1 and 2, having different art, and leveling up into something that looks visually different as well as being functionally different is something I've always been a big fan of in this game. I wish there were more main characters that did that, but it is what it is. So once she levels up, she is a 775, so a much better stat block, though still a little bit punchable on the health. She retains range. She gains spectral vision. At the start of your turn, you may look at an enemy player's hand. Oh, I mean that's good. That could potentially be a lot of information, or if it's slow to level her up, it could be no information. Maybe they don't have a hand at that point. Absorb energy. Main phase, pay a blue, look at the enemy player's hand and choose a card. That player discards that card. If it has a blue symbol in its text box, heal a wound from Monica. Okay, well, the absorb energy power definitely takes the edge off that 5 health pretty significantly, giving her built-in healing, and the fact that you can look at the enemy player's hand for free, determine whether, like, if you really need the healing and you only have like 1 blue, you're not seeing your locations that game, maybe you camp on your blue until you see for sure that they have something in their hand that is either going to give you the healing that you want or an important card that you can force out of their hand to force them to discard. Now, I will say I don't think Photographic Universe like needed that many more discard effects. Like the discard is already pretty ridiculous over there. So another discard effect feels kind of like a hat on a hat in a way, but this seems playable. You can force like the high drop important cards that your opponent's going to have in their hand towards the end of the game when you're actually going to be able to do this power. Those are the cards that people run like one ofs and two ofs. So if I get your Thanos with this, do you have another Thanos? Do you have another top end? This feels like it could potentially be a strong level 2. This level up does not feel great though. I guess knowing that she's got the wild, so there's potentially 8 activators for it in the deck. She needs to do it 3 times. That's not terrible. I mean, so if she levels up on 3, she's a 7/7 on turn 3. That doesn't feel bad. But how often do you do that? That I'm not sure. So to jump back to the supporting character, which was positioned between the 2 levels of the main, I like the art here. The scene of her actually passing through the hex shield or whatever it's called. That looks very cool. She is a 5/3/1 with range, and she can't strike or be struck in melee combat. 5 attack range on 3 is okay. You can't use a melee, like you can't use her to melee at all, so that kind of hurts her because her utility is going to be more minor than it would otherwise be. Your opponent has to have somebody with range to get her out of the way, so she could potentially stick to the board. So you could use her like a sniper from the back row, or you could just throw her in the front row and just stop your opponent. There's not a lot of flying in photographic. There is enough range where I feel like her utility as a blocker is probably going to be super niche. Like there's going to be specific decks that you know the optimal list for whatever main character doesn't run much range. Maybe there. Um, if it was couldn't be struck, but the can't strike, I think I might be out on this one. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not even. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so moving on to some more supporting characters here. I think it's really cool that we're seeing supporting character versions of both Jimmy Woo and Darcy. 2 cost, hero affiliated. He's a 2/2/1 with range. When Jimmy Woo appears, choose an enemy player, then name a card. That player can't play cards with that title until Jimmy Woo leaves play. Okay, that combined with level 2 Monica is actually really good. Like, that's excellent synergy. You can figure out what's in their hand, what their next drop is going to be, and then you can use Jimmy Woo to prevent them from playing it. That being said, he is a 2-cost character, so if you're going to run him in the Monica deck, I don't think you play him on turn 2. You wait until you have your level 2 Monica, and maybe you have things set up in front to kind of protect him. You throw him in the back row. He's got 2 attacks, so maybe he could pick off some little like trash mob or whatever. But you essentially set yourself up so that he's a combo enabler where Monica lets you, or maybe he's the combo payoff, where Monica's the enabler, where she lets you look at the enemy hand, and then Jimmy Woo lets you block out whatever it is their maybe their second best thing, and then her blue power makes them discard their best thing, something like that. I could see that line of play like being a thing, but as far as playing him on 2, uh, I mean, I guess you don't have to know that the card is in their hand. You just say the card name. Okay, I think I misread him a little bit. I was reading him as you had to name a card that actually existed in their hand. You don't. You just name a card. So if you can get this guy down on turn 2 and you call your opponent's optimal 3-drop, maybe you screw up their whole curve. This guy's actually a lot better than my initial reading. He's significantly better than my initial reading. But his value is going to rise the more you know about the meta, the more narrow the meta is. Like if we have a format like another like Midwinter 2020 where it's pretty obvious the supporting character choices, the main character choices, a pretty narrow meta, he could be really, really good in that kind of setting, especially if you can get him down early in the game, lock out whatever your opponent's kind of mid game is, and now you're set up with your mid game stuff while they're still kind of scrambling because they got stopped on the mid game portion. So this is pretty decent. Now you got to keep him around. He only has 1 health. You're going to be able to pick him off with -1 counters. But a lot of the things that are going to let you do that, like let's say I play this guy and I declare whatever the hot 3-drop is for the format, and you've got that hot 3-drop in your hand, and maybe you even have ways to put -1 counters on Jimmy Woo, but are they build phase ways? Because if it's a main phase card, then you're already in the main phase, And at that point, his utility is served. Okay, so you pick him off. I still pushed you off your curve for a turn where I'm continuing to curve out. Now I'm ahead. So this could have a really good home in like the mid-range style of deck where you just force your opponent to miss a drop. Doesn't even have, let's say you pick off on turn 3, you kill my Jimmy Woo, but then on turn 4 I'm able to recruit him plus some like Maria Hill, say. I get a good attacker and now I get to push you off your drop again. There's some playability here. The more I think about this guy, and I'm kind of thinking about him out loud here on the stream, but the more I think about this guy, the better he seems. Wow. Wow. All right, next we have Darcy Lewis. Hacker, at the end of your turn, choose an enemy player, then name a card. That player discards a card with that title. If they don't have any, they reveal their hand. So there's a lot of hand peeking at stuff going on here within the Wandavision set. A 0-3-1 is not a great stat line at all. That's pretty bad, actually. I thought it would be bad for a 1-drop, and she's a 3-drop. But it's going to force them to either reveal their hand or discard a card. So again, I think her more than Jimmy is really going to benefit from the Monica Rambeau main character. But I like that there's synergy between all these characters. Finally, we have a missing town. All right, the Hex. A missing town. Based on the number of Hex locations in your resource row, hero characters in your back row get the following cumulative effects on enemy turns. +1/+0, +0 +1, dodge, and noble. So by itself, this doesn't... I guess this gives +1 to all your heroes. And then if you're able to get 2 of them out, it gives +1/+1. Then they get dodge and they get noble. Okay, so I've been avoiding the Discords and the Facebooks and stuff because I wanted to be able to read these cards for myself. But I knew there was some drama going on around about the word "the." And I see it's right here, the number of the Hex locations. Okay. Yeah, it's a typo. I mean, does the misprinted the typo of Psylocke in Legacy mean her power doesn't work because the card has her name spelled differently than her title does? Like, come on, guys. Is this good enough to actually run in your deck? Well, you got to be on heroes, and you probably need to be on heroes like throughout your whole curve. You probably need a full hero commitment to get enough value out of it. I have a really hard time believing that you're going to run this as like a one of. Like, I think this is 4 or nothing, probably, even though Noble's not that great. But like, if you want to run it even just for the +1/+1, like if what you want to do is get 2 of these in play, I still feel like you're probably gonna run 4. Now, the thing that I really like about this is I've been asking for this design space for like years at this point. This is a card that gives you a effect that's in play. It's basically like an ongoing plot twist from old verses. I love it. Is it gonna see play? It's going to depend on the meta. Like, is the main character that you're wanting to play going to have enough room in their deck that they can run 4 of these and it maybe issue plot twists or something? I don't know. I'm excited to find out, though. I really like this card. I don't know if it's going to be competitively viable, but Kitchen Table, I really like this card. And there we go. So that's all the WandaVision previews. To go through these real quickly again, I think I give a thumbs up to the Monica Rambeau main character. I really like how she looks. I don't know if it's going to be competitive, but Kitchen Table, this thing's probably going to be pretty fun. Probably a thumbs medium to the supporting character, Monica. I'm not sure what the home is for this. And then thumbs up to all the rest of these cards. I like Jimmy. I like Darcy. I like the Hex. I pretty much like all these previews. And it's great to see previews again. So until next